Hello, I'm Annalise George and welcome to Easy Maths Lessons. Today I'm going to show you different multiplication methods. There are many methods out there that you can use, but I'm only going to show you the two most common multiplication methods. The first one is long multiplication. Now you'll find here I've got three different questions, so two of them that look very similar, however, they are very different when it comes to multiplying. So let's start. For the first question, I've got 52 times by 34 and I have to write them down like this. So we'll have my 52 at the top and my 34 here at the bottom. So let's start multiplying. 4 times 2 is 8 and 4 times 5 is 20. So I can write my 20 down like this. Now I have completed my units, and because I've completed my units, I can now write down a placeholder and move to my tens. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 5 is 15. Now that I've multiplied 4 by everything at the top and 3 by everything at the top, I can do an adding. So let me just get a quick highlighter out here. There we go. If I do take the 8 and I add the 0, I should get 8. And if I take the 0 and I add 6 to it, I should get 6. Similarly, if I take the 2 and I add the 5, I should get 7. And lastly, I've only got that little 1 there, and therefore I write down 1. So the answer to 52 times 34 is 1768. Next question. If I look at 64 times by 35, I'm going to write it down again like I did before, with my 62 at the top and my 35 underneath it. And like before, I'm going to start with my units and I'm going to multiply it with the units at the top. So 5 times by 4 is 20. However, this time I have to carry my 2 right there. Once I've carried my 2, I can continue and say 5 times 6, which is 30. However, because I've carried that 2, I cannot forget that this 30 will now become 32. Alright, now I have completed my units, and because I've completed my units, I need to put down a place value, and this placeholder would be a 0. So next, I'm going to move to my tens. So I will have 3 times 4, which is 12. But again, I have got that unit here, or the tens that I have to carry, that one that I have to carry. And I'm carrying that. The next thing I can do is 3 times 6. And because 3 times 6 is 18, I'm going to write down 18. However, I cannot forget about that one that I've carried. And so I need to add it to the 18 to make 19. Excuse me. So now that I have taken my 5s and multiplied it with everything at the top, taken my 3, multiplied it with everything at the top, I am done. So all that's left to do is to add it. Now, 0 add 0 is 0, and 2 add 2 is 4. 3 add 9 will give me 12, but I cannot forget to carry. and therefore the 1 and the 1 will add to make 2. And now I'm done. So the answer to 64 times 35 is 2,240. But we don't always have just 2 digits by 2 digits. Sometimes we will have 3 digits and we need to know how to work with it. So let's have a look here. I am writing them down exactly the same way as I would have done for the others. And I'm going to start it off exactly the same way by multiplying my units by my units. And 3 times 2 is 6. And I'm going 3 times 3, which is 9, and 3 times 1, which is 3. Now I have completed my units, and I'm going to put a placeholder down, which is the 0. I'm going to move over to my tens, and there we go, and move over to my tens and start my multiplication. So 2 times 2 is 4. Oh, let's zoom out there. 4. And 2 times 3, which is 6. And 2 times 1, which is 2. Now, I have completed my units, I have completed my tens, and all that's left over is to do the hundreds. And therefore I need to put down a 0 for my units placeholder, a 0 for my tens placeholder, and now I can do my hundreds. So 3 times 2, which is 6, and 3 times 3, which is 9. And lastly, 3 times 1, which is 3. Now that I have completed and multiplied all of my units with everything at the top, my tens with everything at the top, and my hundreds with everything at the top, I can add. And here goes. So 6 add 0 will give me 6. And 9 add 4 add 0. Well, that gives me 13, so I cannot forget to carry the 1. Then I've got 3 add 6 add 6, but I cannot forget that 1. So instead of having 15, I've got 16 because I've carried the 1. But 16 and I need to carry a 1. So 9 add 2, there we go, 9 add 2 is 11, add the 1 will give you 12, and I need to carry the 1. So lastly I've got 3 add the 1, and that will give me 4. So 132 times by 323 is 42,636. Now that's it for long multiplication, so I'm going to move over to the grid method. The grid method is very easy. However, you cannot do this for your SATs exams from this year onwards. But you are still welcome to use it in any other year group, so year 7 and onwards. All right, so for my grid method, I can have a look. Let me just have a quick color here. There we go. So in here I've got 52 and 34. So 52, I'm going to write it exactly as it says, or as you hear it. 52 times by 34. Now I can go and do some multiplication. I'm just going to get rid of this highlighting quickly, just so you can see what I'm going to do. There we go. All right, different color, there we go. So now I'm going to take the 5 and I'm going to take the 3 and I'm going to multiply them together. Now 3 times 5 is 15. However, I still have 2 zeros to add to that. And 3 times 5 is 15. Add those 2 zeros will give me 1,500. The next thing I can do, I will have my 4 and I'm going to times it by this 5. Now 4 times 5, which is 20, but I still have this 0 that I need to add to that. So 4 times 5 is 20. Add that 0 will give me 200. Notice how I write these numbers, units under units, tens under tens, hundreds under hundreds, and thousands under thousands. It's very important that you line them up because it will make your life a bit easier later on. All right, so it's going to get rid of this. There we go. And now, next, we've got 2. There we go. 2 times 3, which is 6. But I still have this 0 that I need to add to it. So 2 times 3 is 6. Add the 0, and that will give me 60. And lastly, 4 times 2, fairly straightforward. 4 times 2 is 8. Again, I have got my units under my units and my tens under my tens. I've done that because now I can add them up. So I'm going to take 0. Let's have a highlighter here. So 0 adds 0, which is 0. And another 0 and a 0, which is 0. And this time I have got 5 and 2. Now 5 and 2 make 7, and don't forget that 1. Carry that, well, not carry the 1, but bring the 1 down, and you will have 1,700. I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to add the 0 and the 8 to give me 8, and I'm going to bring the 6 down, and there we go, 68. The next thing I now need to do is to add across. So I'm going to take this 1,700, add the 68, and once I've added them up, I will get 1,768. You will see that this is exactly the same as what we had for our long multiplication answer as well. All right, let's move on. This time I've got 132, and I'm going to write it as 132. And I've got 323, so I'm going to write it as 323. And now for the multiplication. So I have got 3 times 1, which is 3. But I cannot forget I have got 2 zeros here and 2 zeros here. So 3 times 1 is 3, and add the 4 zeros on after it to give me 30,000. Next one, I've got 2 times by 1, and 2 times 1 is 2, but I have got 2 zeros here and 1 zero here, so I have to put the 3 zeros together. And 2 times 1 is 2, add those 3 zeros will give me 2,000. Next one, 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3, but I still have these 2 zeros, so I'm going to do 300. Moving on to the next one, so I'm just going to get rid of that, there we go. And, oops, there we go. 3 times 3 times 3 is 9, but I still have 2 zeros here and 1 zero. There we go, 1 zero there. And that will make it 3 zeros. Therefore, 3 times 3 is 9, with 3 zeros, 9,000. 2 times 3 is 6, but I have got 1 zero here, 1 zero here, so now I've got 600. Last one on this column, I've got 3 here, another 3 there. 3 times 3 is 9, but I still have this 1 zero, so 90. Okay, last column. I have got 3. There we go. 3 times 2, and 3 times 2 is 6, but I still have these 2 zeros, and therefore 600. Then I've got 2 times 2, which is 4, but I still have this 1 0, and therefore 40. And last but not least, 3 times 2, which is 6, and no zeros, so I just put down 6. Now, like before, I'm going to need to add now, and it was really important that you have all of them lined up, all the units underneath each other, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, and so on and so forth. That will make your life just so much easier when you are adding. So I'm going to add, and here goes. So 0 add 0 add 0 is 0, and again 0 add 0 add 0 is 0. And I've got 0 and 0 and 3, so that's 3, and 0 and 2 is 2, and then I just bring down the 3. Again, here I've got my zeros, they add to 0, and I've got 0 and 0 and 9, so that adds to 9, and 0 and 6 adds to 6, and I'm going to bring down this 9 because there's nothing to add to it. And I'm going to do the same for my last column. So I've got my 0 and 0 and 6, that's 6, and 0 and 4 is 4, and I'm going to bring down my 6 because there's nothing to add to that. Last thing I need to do is to take this number and this number and this number and add them together. Now you can do this any way you want, whether it's column method or any other preferred method, as long as of course it's not a calculator. And there we go, 42,636, and that's exactly the same answer as what we got with our long multiplication. That's it from me. I hope you've learned something. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.